little bit of a cold today, but the show must go on because the people have been waiting long enough for this. Welcome back to the Bliss Bean after 9 months. At the end of my first semester of my first year of college, I was not in a good place. I remember there being just like a few weeks left to the end of the semester until I could go home, and I was on the phone to my parents crying, just being like, why am I here? Why did I choose this university? I don't like my classes. I don't feel like I'm learning anything. I don't feel challenged. There's like a final group project for every single class and I am losing my mind. I actually tried to change my major at the very beginning of the semester. I keep forgetting that I tried to do that, but by that point it was too late, so I had to stay in communications. It was very scary to think that I might have taken 2 gap years and still made the wrong choice of university, or at the very least the wrong choice of degree. Would I have to start over again as a college freshman at age 21? Obviously there's nothing wrong with being a freshman at 21. There's nothing wrong with being a freshman at any age, but it was just frustrating because I really wanted to finally move forward academically. You start to feel left behind when all of your friends are about to enter their 3rd year of college. Some of them are graduating early. Graduation is on the horizon for them, and you're just at the beginning still. So first semester, there was like one class that was keeping me going, and that was Communication Foundations. My love. Every time in this class, I felt so engaged. I was on the edge of my seat. I always felt like I was learning something, and I was also realizing that I'm actually really interested in the theoretical side of media and communications. How does it work? How does it affect people? What are the ethical implications of it? But pretty much every single other class was draining me. So then it's time for winter break, time jump. I made the mistake of going home a week early for break because I had the opportunity to finish my final projects and presentations and stuff online via Zoom. Why was this a mistake, you might ask? Because while it sounds very nice to be at home for an extra week, it actually really sucks to be back in the home environment but still have school obligations, especially when, because of the time zone difference, some of those final presentations that you have to do are at 5 a.m. in the morning. I also got sick as soon as I came home. I caught a nasty cold because my immune system was just like, I don't know what is going on, but I am not doing this anymore. So none of that was good for my mental health. I also just really did not make a plan for what I wanted to do when I got home. I had like a really long to-do list, mostly of YouTube related stuff that I wanted to do, but like no plan for where to start. And so it ended up just really overwhelming me. I got into a really big funk. I stopped responding to messages. My friends weren't even sure if I was coming back for 2nd semester because they just heard nothing from me. So I actually emailed that professor of my favorite class and I asked her for advice, and she basically suggested that unless I was very unhappy, I should try to stick it out so that I could at least get transfer credits for wherever I went next. And so I did spend some time looking at other universities. I considered some options, but in the end, I decided to stay, and I got on the plane to go back to Segovia. So I kind of got my shit together, and I did manage to climb out of that funk that I was in, but I decided that something needed to change, and that something was taking a break from YouTube. This is the part where I explain why I've been gone for 9 months. Numero uno, I have been doing YouTube since April 2018, and I've been blogging since July 2017, pretty much without any breaks, and I just really wanted to experience life without it. It really does seep into every part of your life, which is not necessarily a bad thing because I love content creation. I do think it gives me meaning in a way, but it changes your perspective of everything because you start to view everything through the lens of content creation. Your entire life basically becomes fair game for material for a video. And I don't really have a problem with that. I love talking about my life on the internet, but I also wonder, who would I be without this content creation side of myself? I've spent some very formative years of my life, ages 16 through 21-ish, making stuff about my life. And would I make different decisions or do anything differently if there was no one watching me living my life? I know I'm being a little dramatic. It's not like I was the star of some reality show and I was like a child star on TV, but the point still stands. Reason number 2 was that if I was going to stay at school for another semester, I needed to fully engage in it in order to make an informed decision at the end of the year. Do I want to continue in this degree or do I need to go somewhere else? So I wanted to get as much out of school by giving to it as much as I could, and I could only have that time and energy if I stopped doing YouTube. And lastly, I just felt like I needed a breather. I think things with the Bliss Bean got very cluttered. I think that's a danger when things on YouTube start to grow, or really anything career related starts to grow, is that you become very excited and you want to start taking on other side projects. Other people want you to take on side projects, and because I kept saying yes and yes and yes to things, there was just way too much on my plate. I couldn't do that anymore. I needed to stop. So when I came back to Segovia, I sent out some messages to my agency, to my assistant. I did an Instagram post explaining why I was leaving, and this was very difficult for me because I felt like I was disappointing a lot of people. But things were much better second semester. By the way, this university that I am speaking of in this video, it is called IE University. In the past few days, I have met so many people from this new class of freshmen who recognize me from YouTube, and those who don't come up to me to talk to me, I feel like so many people have been walking past me and just like staring at me, not sure if it's really me or whether they should go up and say something. If you're watching this and you've seen me, please do come up and say hi. I promise I'm very nice in real life. But yeah, all these first years found my YouTube channel because I'm pretty much the only person here at IE making YouTube videos, and so if I put IE University in the title or in the keywords, my video is the first to come up. So you better believe I am using that for search optimization for this video. Anyways, I loved my second semester classes. First semester, I really wish that I had more theory classes. Second semester, I got everything I could have asked for. We had public opinion, persuasion, and engagement, visual and digital media culture, media ethics, and even on the practical side of classes, the reason that I really didn't like my photography and videography class last semester was because it was very boring for me to have to sit through lessons on how to use a camera or how to edit in Premiere Pro. Second semester though, we had a graphic design and infographics class that was so challenging and fast-paced, and I actually learned so much and enjoyed it so much. And I also just think that I learned the lesson that given any class, whether it is an amazing class or a really crappy one, I would enjoy it a lot more if I fully engaged with it. Like if I just took some lecture notes but mentally kind of checked out, of course it was going to be boring. But if I tried to challenge myself to try and think of connections to other things I've learned, or like discussion questions to raise, or things I disagreed with in the lecture, then immediately everything becomes so much more fun. So I partly have the responsibility to make sure that I am enjoying my education. I got involved in extracurriculars. Well, one single extracurricular, I got involved with the music club. I helped them out last year by making some videos and taking some photos of their concerts, which was so much fun and a creative outlet that I think I really needed in the absence of YouTube. And that has now led to me being their communications manager for this year, which I've already been enjoying so much. And then lastly, I think that I just got much closer with the people here because first semester, I was ready to leave because my ties to this place and to the people here were not that strong. However, the thought of leaving now means leaving a lot of people that I care about, and it is no longer a decision that I would take so lightly. Haha, you thought that was the happy ending to this story, didn't you? As always though, a good story has its ups and its downs, so I did not have a great summer. So here's what happened. I was having such a good time, engaged in school, absolutely vibing, and then suddenly the school year is over, and I have zero schoolwork, but I'm also not back on YouTube yet, so I just have like this empty vacuum and zero momentum. And I did not anticipate how difficult it would be to get moving again when you are at zero. I wanted to get back to content creation, but it just felt like such a monumental task because over the years I've built up this beautiful and perfectly functioning system for producing weekly videos and podcasts and newsletters and social media posts. And how do I even begin to build that back up? And during all of this rumination and lack of action, I would also go on LinkedIn once in a while, which I do not recommend. I do not recommend going on LinkedIn when you're feeling bad about yourself. I don't know why I did this, but I would see my classmates posting about these super cool internships that they were doing, and I would just feel like shit about myself because I wasn't doing anything with my summer. Like literally nothing. I spent so many hours doing the New York Times crossword and playing card games with my brother, which are great and fun activities, but like that was all I did, and I just felt so empty this summer. Dun dun dun! The return to school, to Segovia, to YouTube, and to feeling excited about life again. So at the end of August, I got to visit Lithuania with my family, which was super nice, but then I came home and I had 5 days, just 5 days in between me coming back from Lithuania and me having to fly back to Europe to start school, to go to Spain. So like a day or two before my flight, the realization that I need to pack snaps me out of the state that I'm in, and I'm just like, life is starting again. My flight is gonna take off and the classes are gonna start whether I want them to or not. So I just need to get my ass up and start packing, or I'm just gonna get left behind completely. So I packed, I made to-do lists, I started responding to the people that I'd been ignoring. I flew all the way to Europe. I arrived at my new apartment for the year. I was unpacking, cleaning, going to the grocery store 10 more times. My classes started, and luckily from the get-go, they all seemed quite interesting. I was getting myself organized and picking up the pieces of my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's really what it felt like. And so finally, I felt like I had the energy to come back to YouTube. And I was really relieved to find that when I sat down and I started planning my little content calendar, that the spark was still there. Because obviously after 9 months, I was kind of worried that I just would not want to return to content creation at all. But I set a date for my first video. I posted a mysterious Instagram story to keep myself accountable, and you are now watching that first video. So I succeeded, I guess. Of course, I have worries that maybe after 8 months, no one will be interested in watching the Bliss Bean anymore, but there's nothing I can do about the past. I do think that I really did need a break, and the only thing I can do now is just decide where I go next. And the important thing is that I feel excited about creating again, so that's what I'm gonna do. I just want to say thank you if you have stuck around despite me disappearing for 9 months. I really appreciate you. I can't really say enough how I appreciate you, because you are the reason that I have this outlet to come back to. I think I've decided that I want to start saying my name more at the start of videos, because I've realized that a lot of people actually don't know my name on YouTube. I get a lot of emails that start with Dear Bliss Bean, which is cute, but it's very important to be called your name. It's very validating. One of the most satisfying things about studying in Spain has been that professors almost always default to saying my name Beatrice instead of Beatrice, and it makes my heart sing with joy because I am so used to having to correct everyone. So let's consider this a reintroduction, a new beginning. Hi, my name is Beatrice, or Beatrice, whichever one you prefer. It is very nice to meet you. 1, 2, 3,